According to a 2023 Forbes article, 1 in 4 Americans over the age of 18 reported that they often or always feel lonely. Our former U.S. Surgeon General even declared that the U.S. is in a loneliness epidemic. So in today's video, we're diving into 1, the neuroscience behind loneliness, 2, how we can prevent what I call lonely brain, and 3, what are some practical strategies to overcome loneliness starting today? So let's dive in. What's the neuroscience behind loneliness? When we experience loneliness, it activates several areas of the brain, including the prefrontal cortex and the amygdala. These are the regions of the brain that process emotions and threats. So here's what happens. When you feel lonely, your brain interprets it as, I'm alone, no one has my back, I have no one to depend on. This message sends your brain into protective mode. It becomes hypervigilant to potential threats. So what's the result? You become hypersensitive to the most neutral social cues. So innocent interactions like a coworker seeming to be disinterested in what you're saying or a cashier giving you a blank stare can be misinterpreted as rejection. Your brain, now in hypersensitive overdrive mode, might twist these neutral cues of, a coworker seeming disinterested or a cashier giving you a blank stare, can twist those cues and interpret it as they don't like me or I don't belong here. Let me rush and get out of this awkward interaction as quickly as possible. This then causes you to limit or begin avoiding interactions with people, thus leading to the vicious cycle that leads to more loneliness. I call the result of this cycle lonely brain. Lonely brain begins with the self-pitying thoughts of I'm so lonely, and then those thoughts trigger hypersensitivity, which then reduces your ability to connect, leading to more loneliness. It's all rooted in the stories that we tell ourselves. If you keep telling yourself, I'm so lonely and I have no one, your brain is going to stay in that hypervigilant survival mode. And it's going to keep reinforcing this narrative by causing you to behave in a way that drives people away or drives you away from people. But see, the good news is you can rewire your brain. Instead of thinking, I'm so lonely, try to begin to reframe these thoughts. Instead, start thinking, I'm on a new journey to find meaningful connections. This shift tells your brain to focus on opportunities rather than threats, making you more open to social interactions and new connections. All right, so now let's dig into what are the solutions to lonely brain. How do we stop developing what I call lonely brain? It starts with awareness. Be mindful of the narratives you're repeating. Challenge that negative self-talk. Challenge those thoughts that keep saying, I'm so lonely. People only like me because I have money, or I'm too boring to make new friends. Replace those self-defeating negative thoughts with thoughts that focus on the potential of future connections. So when you're going to a party or a gathering or some sort of convening, don't think, people only want to be around me because I have money or because I'm pretty or whatever. Don't focus on that. Focus instead on thoughts that say, okay, I'm going to this party. It's going to be a lot of people there. This is an opportunity for me to connect with people more deeply. Again, remember that your brain reacts to the stories you feed it. Shift your focus to what's possible, and your brain will respond by helping you to find those different opportunities for you to connect. To better understand the neuroscience that I'm explaining here, I want you to check out my YouTube short on the brain's reticular activating system, RAS. I've linked the link to that video in the description box, so check it out and it'll help you to better understand just the neuroscience behind all of this. All right, so Let's move on to how can you overcome loneliness? Here are 3 practical steps that you can take today. 1, start by deepening your connections with people already in your life. Ask yourself, who's already in my life that I can connect more deeply with? It could be your mom, a grandparent, or a sibling. Just reach out and call them and say to them, hey, I just want to learn more about you. I just want to see how you're doing. Ask them out for lunch or coffee or whatever. From there, once you get in front of them, whether it's for lunch or coffee, just begin to ask them meaningful questions like, what's their favorite childhood memory? I know whenever I ask my mom this, she loves it. She loves to share. So it could be your mom, your sibling, grandparent, whoever, or it could be a coworker. Just think about somebody that you're around on a daily basis. That's where the low-hanging fruit is. Invite that person out. Begin to ask them some below the surface questions. We're into a new year, so a question that you could ask is, what are you most excited about this year? What are you most looking forward to? You can literally, if you're struggling to think of questions, Google, just below the surface questions to kick off the conversation. Once you start asking below the surface questions, it's probably going to lead to that person responding and saying something that will present an opportunity for you to connect with them more deeply or to begin to build on with the conversation. So start small. Know that meaningful connections don't start with these huge grand gestures, but just initiate the conversation. My second tip is establish connection routines. Consistency deepens connection. So don't just invite somebody out for a lunch date and say, oh, that was a good conversation, and leave it at that. Build on that conversation that you may have initiated with your mom or your sibling that seemingly went well. Build on it and establish a routine. I know that personally I've done this in my own life. In my home city, I have a friend, and we used to meet up each weekend and we'd go on walks. We'd just kind of select a new park to go on a walk and explore the city. And I really used to look forward to those walks because it would give us an opportunity to catch up and just connect. And that became our routine. That helped to really build our friendship. So shout out to my friend Regina and my walking buddy. I also have another friend, and we used to select like a news article or a documentary, and Monday through Friday we would just focus on, reading that article or watching that documentary, and then on Sunday morning we would call each other and discuss what we learned. Some people may think it's a little nerdy, but we both enjoyed it, and it was a way for us to build a connection as friends. Another example of this is there have definitely been seasons in my life when I would call my parents every night and we would pray together. Praying with someone is a way that you can definitely build a deep connection with them pretty quickly, because when you're praying with someone, you're getting insight into the concerns that person has and what they care about deeply. I know that during that time when I was praying with my parents, they really got to know me in a different way. They became familiar with all the things that I was going through at work and just different things like that, because those were things they were hearing me pray about. And so, prayer and praying with someone consistently is definitely a way to build connection. But my main point is just start to build routines with people. Routines, they help to create anticipation, they deepen bonds, and they give both of you something to look forward to. I also just want to point out that, when you think about funerals and stuff, when people get up and they speak at funerals, oftentimes they will say things like, oh, I miss this person because every Tuesday we used to do this, or every Saturday they would do that. Those are routines. Those are the things that really stick with people. Those are the things that cause people to remember you fondly. So again, start building routines with people in your life. My third tip is something that I say very often, and you have probably heard me say in previous videos. But the third thing is bless others. Be a source of encouragement and kindness in others' lives. Write a thoughtful letter or send an uplifting text message. Give Give just a small heartfelt gift, like a card or a handwritten note. Surprise someone with a random act of kindness, like paying for their coffee or leaving an encouraging voicemail. People naturally gravitate toward those people who uplift their soul and encourage them. So be that person. One of the things that I do want to say when it comes to blessing other people in giving, and I've included this warning in other videos, but I'm going to say it again. I do want to warn you that when you do nice things for people, don't do it expecting for the favor to be returned. I do strongly believe that you reap what you sow, but your focus should not be on reaping what you've sown from that particular person that you sowed into. Again, I feel like this gets into manipulation. Instead, your focus should be on just blessing and sowing into others, and just trust that God will ensure that you reap what you sow. All right. So as we wrap up, I want to remind you that loneliness is not a permanent state. It's a signal that you're craving deeper connections. By being mindful of your thoughts, reframing the narrative, and taking intentional steps to connect, you can break the cycle of loneliness and build the relationships that you desire. If this video, if it's resonated with you, take a moment to rewatch it, jot down the steps you're committing to today, and begin applying it. Also, I want to remind you all that I am offering free 30-minute coaching consultations for anyone looking to explore personalized strategies for improving their mindset and building deeper connections. So click the link in the description box to schedule your session if you're interested. All right, until next time, remember, you're not alone and meaningful connections are within your reach. See you in the next video.